So after my first initial visit with the pain management specialist, where she told me I have CRPS and to join forums, she said, we need to get me on the schedule for nerve blocks as soon as possible. And so she scheduled me for nerve blocks at a legitimate surgery facility. She said, you're going to have to fast and you can't have any water and you're going to go under general anesthesia. And you're going to need a ride home. In my case, it's my husband. So when I went to the facility, it was very nice. It was just 1 minute away from her office in North Fort Worth. And they had me check in. They had me do a urine sample to ensure I'm not pregnant. I guess they can't do it if the woman is pregnant. They took my weight. They verified I had been fasting. And then they had me get in a little hospital bed and asked me to disrobe and put on a gown and put my hair in a hairnet. That waiting time is not fun. Each time I wait about 45 minutes to an hour, if longer, even longer sometimes. And so the official name, because I know there's different types of blocks you can have done, the official name of this one is a lumbar sympathetic nerve block, and I was getting it done on my left side. So they had me lay down, they put an IV in me, which they put in my hand. If you get nerve blocks done, ask them, please don't put it in your hand. I had them in the future, and as I continue to get them, put it in this part of my arm instead. The hand was unbearable sensations. I'm trying to avoid the P word. Unbearable sensations the whole time. It never went away like an IV or a vaccine shot ever does. Anyway, they rolled me into an official, like, small room, and they had me transferred to another table bed. They had me lay on my stomach, and that's the last thing I remember. The anesthesia knocked me out completely, even though I was supposed to remain. Did I? No, it didn't knock me out. I'm confusing because I've done it so many times. The first time did not knock me out. I was just a little bit more relaxed, and she put some type of numbing medication on it, but she did the nerve block so quickly afterwards that I felt the nerve block. I think it was definitely less than what I would have felt without it, but at my next appointments, I asked them to wait longer to ensure that the numbing actually took effect. Because I felt the pricks. I felt 2 or 3 pricks. And then they wheeled me back to the hospital bed. She came back in a couple minutes later. I was a little bit loopy. She felt my foot, and my foot was nice and warm. And she goes, okay, well, this could be all you need, especially since we're doing this early. And so I was like, okay, great. I can get back to my normal life after just one shot. One shot that's very expensive. With insurance, I still paid $1,500. Now that insurance covers a portion of it, I pay $500, only because I'm going to an official surgery facility, which is where the bulk of the fees go. But then, so I went home. I was hopeful. Not a lot of the pain. It got rid of the bone crushing pain, which was the worst pain. So I was really thankful that if it was going to get rid of something, it got rid of that. And later that day, I started feeling a really bad, sharp sensation on the outside of my leg again. I hadn't felt that sharp sensation for quite some time because I had not tried any physical activity or physical therapy that would trigger it, but I felt it. And when I looked down, one of my veins was popping out really, really bad. And I thought, this is where the nerve is. Can we just get rid of that nerve? The one that got messed up for whatever reason. And so that lasted 2 or 3 days, and I was still unable to get comfortable and get any sleep, and felt very sharp sensations, sharp stabbing sensations. So I messaged Dr. Murphy the next day, and she said that can happen. Wait a couple more days, and then if it's not any better, then we'll do an appointment. I waited a couple more days, and it did go away. And thankfully, the bone crushing pain has not come back to this day. And then she had me do another nerve block after I did a follow-up appointment with her 2 weeks later, because she said, you need to do them consistently. The warm the warmth of the foot went away after about an hour. It became cold again. I forgot to mention that. So I did another nerve block 2 weeks later at the same facility, same thing. But this time I got completely knocked out and I don't remember anything after being rolled into the room. And then I remember being rolled back to my previous hospital bed. Same thing, my foot got nice and warm. But this time, although I did get the vein popping out, it wasn't as severe. So I was hopeful. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it'll calm down. Because that was my concern about doing it again. But I was willing to try anything to get relief. And then she had me do another nerve block a couple weeks later. So that was nerve block number 3. So it is now June. This will probably be posted in July. I've done 5 blocks on my left side. And since then, after my 4th block, I started noticing some sensations that were being mirrored on my right side very faintly. And I thought it was from overuse, overcorrection. And so I was in denial. But then I started doing live support group Zoom calls with other CRPS warriors, and someone mentioned that I shouldn't ignore it and I should address it. And so at that point I spiraled because I thought, oh, this is it. This is the end. The nerve blocks are not helping enough. They're not long lasting enough. Even though I had been seeing a lot of success with my left side, like each time I did a block, it got rid of another layer of pain and it didn't come back. So initially it was the bone crushing feeling. Then it was the sharp sensation on the outside of my leg. Then it was probably 30% of the pain I was feeling on the top of my foot. Then it was the pain that I had started feeling that had spread to my toes. Then it was having the warmth last a little bit longer. And while I was doing those nerve blocks, I did physical therapy, and I'll do another video on my experience with physical therapy so far. If you didn't already watch the introduction video to this channel, which I'll link in the description, that gives you a brief overview of like my initial experience with physical therapists that weren't doing it specifically for CRPS. But I'm really glad I did not stop nerve blocks because they have been a true lifesaver. I was really skeptical after the first one and then the second one causing those sharp sensations, but thankfully to this day, I don't get sharp sensations like that anymore. Each time the nerve blocks, I don't know what to expect afterward. They're always different. So after the 3rd nerve block, my entire left side from my hip down my foot was completely numb, and that had never happened before. And I was really concerned, and it lasted the whole day. I messaged the doctor. She said, yep, that can happen. Every time is a little bit different. And sure enough, the next day I had feeling again, but I had absolutely no feeling. And I was dumb and decided to try to limp along around the house because I was starting to feel better, even though I had absolutely no feeling in my left leg. And I was in the kitchen and I opened the fridge, and then all of a sudden I tried to put too much weight on my completely numb leg, and it gave out and I fell on the ground. Thankfully, it was a very slow fall and I didn't cause any more damage. And my husband was there and he helped me stand up. But yeah, each nerve block has been super helpful. I highly recommend at least giving it a try and trying a few times. Everyone's experience will be different. Every experience I have with a nerve block is different. It just does something different every time to help relieve pain. So far, any pain it's gotten rid of, it hasn't come back. There's just lingering pain that won't go away completely. But back to the right side, after my 4th nerve block, I thought I was just overcompensating too much. And I thought, okay, I just need to be more mindful now of putting equal weight as much as possible from the left to the right. And it was so minor that I ignored it. But eventually after that support session, they said, don't ignore it. So I went down a spiral, like I mentioned. I thought this is the end of my life. I'm only 3 months in and it's already spread to the other side. It's going to spread to the rest of my body. I'm now 6 months, almost 6 months into my diagnosis. And I was really worried because something that my pain management specialist had told me was, if these nerve blocks do not help or they're not long lasting enough, then your only other option is a spinal cord stimulator. And I was like, whoa, that is a very different treatment. That's very permanent. And that was before I did any research on my own. And so I said, no, I don't want to tell her that I have pain on my right side, because then she's just going to say, oh, you have to get a stimulator and not going to do a nerve block. And then finally, my husband convinced me to just request a nerve block, something that was very helpful in the book that Dr. Katinka wrote, was that doctors work for you, not the other way around. And so I requested a block on the right side and in the message portal, and she responded back, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I was really thankful, one, that she believed me and knew that CRPS can spread, and two, that she was willing to do the nerve block. So I did a nerve block on my right side. I've had one done on my right side. I'm going to have another one done in about 2 or 3 weeks. When this video gets posted, I may have already had that nerve block. And so now she says we're just going to alternate left side and right side. I eventually have spread out my nerve blocks to be about every 6 weeks. My next nerve blocks will be 10 weeks from my left side and like 5 weeks later for my right side. So we're just trying to figure out how much more pain can we remove before we just figure out like this is your maintenance, and how long can you go before you need another nerve block. I am also going to be trying this at a non-surgical facility. She said, I didn't know this was an option. You don't have to go to a surgery center and spend $500 out even after insurance covers a portion of it. You can avoid general anesthesia by going to just do it in her office. So I'm going to be trying that. We'll see how it goes. She said I'll take Xanax, and to help me relax, she'll put a little numbing medication on it. But that's it. So we'll see how it goes and if I can handle it. If so, it sounds like it's going to be a lot more affordable. It's a lot faster. I don't have to fast. I don't have to get an IV. So we'll see how that goes. So short answer is I highly recommend doing nerve blocks and doing a few of them to help. But also, which I'm going to mention in my next video, is ensure that you don't just get the nerve blocks, but that you do physical therapy. I was so scared to do it, but I'm so glad I did physical therapy, and I'm so glad I continue to do physical therapy. So I'll be talking about my physical therapy journey in the next video.